Evening, folks. Thanks for coming in. Hope you're all safe and well and looking forward to the heat wave that's meant to be coming towards the end of the week. I think it's up to 28 degrees or I don't know, something like that. But tonight I'm joined by faces new and old. Start with the old guy down here. You know this guy here, Rigga from Spig, who's been on far too many times actually, but he's back again tonight. You know. But we have two new guests here. We have Scott and Tommy from Valley Paranormal. They're a brand new team. They only started about a week and a half ago, something like that. So we thought we'd get them on for a chat. But before we start chatting, I just want to make a wee mention. I put a post on the page last night, earlier this morning. I just want to give a mention to Alex Doran, who sadly passed away about 2 days ago. Alex was the founder and owner of Ghost Hunters Scotland, and we had them on the show a few times, and it was always a pleasure to talk to. We tried to arrange to investigate, but you know how it is, the dates never seem to match up. But sadly he passed away a couple of days ago, and he was a very well respected, very well known and respected guy in the paranormal, particularly in Scotland. So he'll be sadly missed by, you know, everybody that knew him. So I just want to send our condolences and prayers out to his family and his friends and everybody that knew him. And he'll not be forgotten. He will be sadly missed. But I just wanted to give a wee shout out to him. So you couldn't have met a nicer guy. I don't know if Rigga ever spoke with him.
Once or twice, I think, but I've never actually met him.
Like, the guy was we did about 3 or 4 shows together. And it was a pleasure to chat to, you know, and he will be missed. So that's that. You know, you never know when your ticket's up, really, do you? You never know when you're going to get punched. But there we go. We Island for Phantom Seekers in. It was a very, very sad island and very surprising. And there's Laura in. Well, hello, all male panel. That is rare, not that I'm complaining. Laura's one of yours, by the way, gents. She's part of us. And she always has a wee dig. So I don't need to tell you about Rigga, because you already know about this guy. I'm fed up listening about me anyway. So Scott and Tommy, they only started about a week and a half ago, guys, is that right?
Aye, that's correct.
Aye, yeah.
I was saying hussy I've taken that same bit, Laura. So I thought I'd bring them on, have a wee chat, see what they're all about. They did an investigation last week. Go and check out their Facebook page. They did their first investigation last week at Dunmore Castle.
Dunmore House. Yeah.
Dunmore House. And I mean, as I said to these guys before we come on, none of us are experts. You know, there's no right or wrong way to investigate. But it was a really good investigation for the first time out. I keep going to point out they're there anyway. So, Rigga, you can shut up with me. Always appreciate good architecture, but don't touch. You'll get this between Sarah, Laura, and Eileen. Probably the banter will go back and forward. Ali will get slagged off, or Rigga will get slagged off, or you might even get slagged off actually if you're lucky. Who knows?
Don't bring me into your domestic.
You what?
Don't bring me into the domestic.
I'm just saying, Eileen and Laura's off already. Dunmore home to the Burry Clan. So anyway, guys, tell us all about who wants to go first.
I can go first.
I'll let you go first.
So what kind of kicked off your paranormal journey?
To be honest, actually, it was your man just down there. Because obviously before, I had watched some of the ghost shows and that, like you get in Amazon or Netflix, but it gets boring a wee bit after, like, you see them like running about, screaming their heads off like idiots, and it's like that's not what I want to watch. And then my mum passed away in August 2022, and after that there was like certain things you could feel in the house. So I got in contact with Rigga, and his crew actually came out, and through the EVP, I actually got to hear my mum's voice through one of the EVPs, and since then I just got hooked. There was a couple of times before when I wanted to make my own paranormal group, because through this neck of the woods, as far as I'm aware of, we are the only paranormal investigative group. So I thought, I'll mention it to my pal Scott and we'll see what happens. And the rest of the history, really. He was like, I'm definitely up for it. So.
Because you're out Stirling way, ain't you?
Stirling, aye.
Central. We're in the
I
town.
can't think of any teams out that direction. Can you, Rigga?
No. A few mediums and that, but I wouldn't really class them as paranormal, really. Paranormal investigators, are they?
No.
So,
No, well, some of them can be, some of them are just, not, shall we say. I'm not going to start slagging off me doing that. I've said it on the show enough times, but,
But me, as I say, I'll keep mine nice and sweet. I'm just exactly the same as Thomas. I was out when Rigger came out, because I was sceptical about it all. I was kind of 50-50, maybe 40-50. I wasn't too sure in that. I was kind of, I need to see it to kind of believe it in a way. But for the stuff we got, and for them to contact his mum, and for all the stuff that I heard, I was like, wow. And then hearing that voice recording his mum kind of got me emotional, and it was like, I'm like, Thomas got me through, and he's like, go and listen to that he's going to listen to that. He's, that sound like my mum to you. What did I tell you? That was definitely your mother.
Yeah.
And just ever since then me and Thomas kind of started talking about it on, and as I said, he wanted to start up the Forth Valley Paranormal Investigating thing, and I agreed to it, so here we are.
There was one time before when we were just messing about with it, and we had went down to Cambus Kenneth Abbey.
Oh, that's right.
And it was just like a wee messing about. It was nothing serious. And we had this app, one of the free apps, so we didn't take nothing for it. But something that did come up through that app, which happened to be a coincidence, was Murdered and Monk.
Oh, that was the one on my phone, wasn't
it? Yep. And then we actually later found out, maybe it was just a coincidence, as I says, but one of the people in that abbey was actually murdered by someone basically pretending to be a monk.
And it said something about a ritual too. There was meant to be like on the thing too about a ritual, and there was like a ritual that happened in the abbey. So, and it was like I'm sure, was it not like an execution, like a kind of execution ritual type of thing? I'm sure that happened at the abbey. Thomas.
Cambus Kenneth, I'll start this comment up with Laura first, and then we're trying to say about an EVP we got allowed in Kurt saying I'm a rocket man. We just sang as my uncle passed. Last year was a huge Elton John fan, and his ashes are spread at Ladyton Lake, which is minutes from the Kirk, and that song was played at his funeral. Coincidence? I think not. So there's Laura, we got an EVP that was meant something to Laura. Some folk might call it coincidence. Some people, I don't know, might know. She says, Scott, it's good to be a skeptic. You've got to be a skeptic. You can't just jump in the parawagon all the time. But when Cambus Kenneth Abbey, we filmed there for Wallace Trail. So we've been up 2 or 3 times. I think we've been up. It's a beautiful abbey, and
the only thing is it's shutting early. It kind of shuts about 6 o'clock. That's the only thing, unless you get permission off the guy the groundskeeper to go in. But
we'd arranged to go up one day to film, and we go up, and it was shut. And Gordon, through the Society of Willie Walsh, who's our narrator, he was there, and he says, I've never known this place to be shut. But they've started kind of shutting it now. you know. But when you're saying, you know, go in there, you weren't going for an investigation, but as Rigga will tell you, feel free to join in, Rigga, by the way.
I was actually trying to get my word in, but you kept talking big cheese.
Right, okay. Fingers on lips. Go.
Right. So what I was saying is obviously
Enough of what Rigga said.
Tommy was mentioning about the app now. Obviously, I know he's new to it, but he'll learn this as the time goes. So a lot of the apps dive deep into them before you consider using them, because a lot of them use GPS, right? So what they'll do is they'll use GPS, and you can only use it if you allow the GPS, right? So what it does is when you go to a location, it knows exactly where you are, so it gets the information and location you're at, and then that's when stuff comes through. So that's what you need to kind of look out for as well.
Never thought
But
that
again,
way.
this is things that you'll learn as the time goes. But a lot of them they run through GPS, so you could be anywhere and it'll pick up where you are, and it'll get if it can gather information, it'll gather it, and then it'll say. So just keep an eye on it for that. Yeah.
The best that we use the necrophonic, we've used it since day one basically, and I know Rigga uses it. I know when he's downloaded on his phone. Have you done that yet? Actually,
No, I actually got my necrophonic for free through an APK download, and it took me ages to get it. And then when I got my new phone, everything moved over. The necro moved over, but I can't play it. And I'm not spending £10 or £11 on it. I'll try and get it for free again. But I will get it.
I was predisposed to paranormal vocabulary, that word in there, etc. And GPS, as Rigga says. See, we've used the necrophonic since day one, and we've had a lot of luck with the necrophonic. And I folk put them down, you know, and Rigga will back me up. A lot of the apps are loaded with words. You know, there's a certain amount of words in each one. But it's when you get sentences and you get accents through them, you know, or you get words that are corresponding to maybe a question that you've asked. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Then you need to think, right, well, the best way to do it is to ask the question again. You know, not right away, but maybe you're a few 10, 15 minutes. Ask the question again and see if you get the same answer again.
Well,
Is that
that's
the
what I
thing
was
you've got on your
explaining
phone, Tommy?
the necro.
Is that the one you've got on your phone?
It's actually, I got the necrophonic because I remembered it was the one that Rigga and Spig used when they came out to investigate the house. So I paid like.
See, with the necro as well, Tommy, obviously I was leaving you wee voice notes because I'm too lazy to message, right?
Yeah.
But now you're on. So what I was basically saying is, with the necro, the more you use it, the more you'll start hearing the same pattern.
Yep.
So there's always one that comes through, and to me it sounds like a woman, and it's like, Scott, you probably know what I'm talking about, and it's like, something like that. Right? That was that poor attempt at doing it. But you'll hear that very regularly. Yep. No every 10, 20 seconds. It could be a minute, 2 minutes. Once it constantly just sweeps through. So as the time goes, you might think that you see a Tommy. You know what I mean? But what I do is I screen record my necro session. So then when we're finished it, we can actually go back and listen to it. And then count for it. If we get Tommy coming through. And then we'll count 2, 3, 4 minutes. 5 minutes, sometimes up to 10 to see if it comes back through again, because obviously it's in a swoop. If it doesn't come back through, then it's possible it's maybe also a spirit coming through. With the necro as well, what we tend to do, if we get a name Tommy, right, through a necro, we'll end that session. And what we'll do is we'll go straight to the spirit box. And we'll explain, this is the same sort of situation, same sort of idea behind it. You can come and speak through this. We can hear you, same as you did with the previous bit of equipment. Can you say Tommy again? And then hopefully we can try and get Tommy coming through that. When we do get Tommy coming through that, we end that. And then we go into an EVP. And then we'll explain. You've said Tommy twice. Can you now say Tommy through this silver box? Describe it as a colour, because they're not going to know what an EVP is or a necrophonic app. So just basically describe the colour, shape, whatever. And then if we get Tommy coming through that, you know what I mean, then that's that's mere chance at being paranormal, rather than just running
Aye.
off the necro and going, "Oh," said Tommy.
Aye.
This is the thing that you always, again, I've had to learn that. Scott would have learned all that as well. You'll learn it, but they're critical when it comes to paranormal, because a lot of people just think, "Oh, it's paranormal." You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But if you genuinely try something to try and capture it again, or always aim to debunk, look for the bigger picture. If you cannot get any explanation to why that's came through the three devices, or you can't debunk it, well, that's whatever you can't debunk it, then there's more chance it can be paranormal. So you do kind of need to be strict with yourselves in the paranormal as well. Always look
Aye,
to
definitely.
debunk, depending on locations as well. If you're in an enclosed location, somebody's property or whatever, you're not getting wind coming through. You're not really going to get mice or anything like that. You're not going to get trespassers. If you're in an abandoned location, that's things that come with that. You know what I mean? You've got trespassers, you've got mice, birds. We were at Loudon Kirk, Scott, 2 weeks ago,
Aye, 2 weeks ago.
and we were trying to run an EVP, but every single time we try to run EVP, there was cows in the background. Every 2 seconds. Every 2 seconds. So that's the things as well. It comes together, but again, it's something that you don't learn. Obviously, it's just something.
I prefer EVPs through short wave white noise, but I mean, Rigga says you are just we're not going to preach to you, we're experts, because we're not. The folk will probably tell you down the line, "Oh, I'm an expert at this and expert." Bollocks. There's no such thing, But we all start somewhere. I mean, when Sarah and I started PIH 5 years ago, I'd been into paranormal for many, many years, but I'd never done anything like that in my life. Neither Sarah. And our first few investigations were a mess, because we didn't have a clue what we were doing, But as Rigga says, through time, you kind of. But I was my biggest fault when we started was, as you say, Tom, about the ghost shows. I was doing the same thing as they were doing, because I was seeing it on telly, But then we were lucky enough that a few good friends came and say, "Look, don't do that. Try this, try that." And, they didn't tell us what to do. They made suggestions, and so we said, "Okay, we'll try this." One of my biggest faults was that I would ask one question after a bang, 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 after another. And then somebody says to me, "You need to leave a gap." And I thought, "Oh, aye, true enough." And it's wee kind of things with that you pick up through time. And as Rigga says about the app, if you listen to the app, you use it often enough, you get to know what that's a normal word that comes out of that. Or well, hold on, that doesn't sound like a normal, that sounds like something else. It could be something else. Laura saying the other thing to remember is always debunking, look for an explanation. And it's great having all the fancy equipment, but basic works just as good. Ping pong balls, cat balls, your phone recorder for EVPs. I've caught my phone and been unbelievable. And above all, show respect. Be yourself. You get the feel and find your way with experience. Listening as important as, but you just do your own thing. As I say to you, Tommy, when we were talking in mails, you might come up with some ideas and think, "Oh no, that's stupid." But who's to say it's stupid? Spirit might not think it's stupid. So if you come up with an idea, just go and try it.
A lot of folk think as well that all this loads of tech, the high standard tech, all that sort of stuff is going to work. Not necessarily, as Laura said. See simple methods. If as just back to what Scott was saying as well, if you're going to ask questions, there's times that we've done it that I'll go to ask a question, but somebody in the team will go to ask a question at the same time. Just be mistakes like that. So if you're going to ask a question, as Scott said, Tom, if you ask a question, just ask it and leave it for a minute or two. And then if Scott gets in, asks his question. But also take on board as well that a lot of folk think when you ask a question through the necro or spirit box, that you should be getting constant response straight away. It doesn't work like that. Sometimes you could ask a question and you might not get that response to 10 questions down the line.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's how it's always important to record as well, because by the time you've asked your 10th question and then the answer comes back for the first question, there's more likely you forgot what your first question was.
Mm-hmm.
But they've responded to that. So it does take time, and I always say when we're investigating, I'll always introduce myself to the spirits, which is important. I'll explain. I'll try and make it as comfortable as possible. Just like when I was in your home, try to make it comfortable for yourselves, things like that. So that's always important. Explain why you're there. Explain the equipment, and just let them know that I'll always say to them, look, I understand that it could be hard for you to come through and communicate. It might take you time. It might be easy enough for me to go up and touch a cat ball or touch a REM pod, a black box, which is a REM pod, touch a REM pod, but it might be so frustrating for you. So it's all about kind of building that comfort, friendship, and just getting that just a nice, peaceful atmosphere. And then hopefully you'll start kind of, because you get a lot of folk will go in and they'll go in, like, if they're watching Hollywood movies or the Amazon stuff, and as Scott said, he thought that's what it was like. So folk are getting in thinking that's what it is. You know what I mean? Right. And they're like, these spirits might even understand why you're there. You know, it's...
Well, and another thing I take into consideration too is, especially with Dunmore House now, the reason I like to get my locations in advance is because I like to get as much history on the location as I can. And the likes of Dunmore House was built in the early 1820s. So you can imagine if somebody for that era passed away then and their soul was attached to that location, they might not even understand the way we're talking, let alone like the equipment. So
I feel like I'm coming in used to it, and I apologise right in advance. I'm not trying to shoot you down. I don't want to come across that way. What I found when I started, I was the same as you, Tommy. I was looking at locations, right? But then I was starting to get names. So when I'm in ages and things that's maybe happened. So when I was out investigating, I'm using equipment, necro, spirit box, and because I've read what the names are, I'm thinking that's what's coming through the. You know, so get a name Henry, you know what I mean, and then I'm getting something coming through the spirit box. It sounds like Rah. I'm thinking, what's he telling me? Because it's registered in my brain that I've seen Henry. So that's the thing. But some folk do a lot of research because it can help in investigation.
See, it wasn't really the owners, it was more of the building itself, like what was at which certain time and what period in time. Like Dunmore House actually got turned into a hospital during World War One, and then after that it was a girls' boarding school. So I take all these things into consideration. I don't go looking into like who owned it, who was staying in there at the time, just the building itself.
So do you think it's better to go into a location blind then, no kenning anything about it, and just...
No, not necessarily. Obviously, if you're going to locations, the locations that we know that you said one earlier, Tommy, a lot of folk abandoned yourselves know that location, so you know there's going to be some sort of history to it. You'll be inclined maybe hearing somebody being there. Personally, I prefer going in. We're going to a location in the 19th that we've been once. Still to this day, I don't know any history on it. Now, the reason why I do it is because if we go and we gather what we believe to be paranormal communication, get some information for it, and then we go back and research it, and you go, hold on, wait a minute. We get that name coming through. We get that year. Hold on, there was a murder here or something, but we get that coming through. So then that way you look, because then I just feel if you look at locations and stuff like that, dig too deep into it, then there's a chance if you go, although you've maybe forgot about these names or whatever, but they're still there. So if that comes through, you're going to. I just feel going to a location without really knowing it. Apart from safety wise, the only time I'll look at locations if it's abandoned, I'll check kind of what the terrain's like. Maybe I'll go the day before and have a look how the travel is to it. What it's going to be in fuel, which is important, and how to get to it. So the distance for the car to where we're going, that's kind of the stuff I'll look at. I'll look at reviews and things like that. But I don't really tend to look into the actual history of it until after investigating. And then if we get names, dates, things that's happened, currencies that's happened, stuff like that, then I'll look into the history and see if I can match it up. But folk look into the history and then go. So obviously that's entirely up to yourself. But
Well,
personally,
maybe
I
that's
think
something that me and you could actually consider about doing. Then maybe it'll be a wee bit better for us to go into an investigation. Then we can do it that way, just as Rigga was saying.
it just makes it that wee bit more interesting, exciting. Although it's exciting anyway, but honestly, see if you go to a location you don't know anything on it, and you gather names and kind of strong information, things that's happened there or whatever, and you go back and check it and it matches up, then you're like, it's
Well, we've
unbelievable.
still, as I said, we've still got a lot of investigation to do at that Dunmore house anyway, so there is still quite a bit to be investigated because we were just at that one spot, like doing investigation. So, well, you've seen the size of the building, the estate itself. The estate's massive, and it spreads it. And I think, I says to it, I think there's a forest too, and I reckon it goes into the forest too. There's a wee foresty bit.
What there is, there's an old graveyard. I don't know if you know that.
Aye, there is the mausoleum.
The mausoleum, aye. That's what I'm saying, it spreads it.
I went about 2 years ago with my missus, my two kids. We just went and drive along. I was just wanting to go and see, because I knew, obviously, there's rubble and that, but it's relatively safe to take your kids. But I couldn't find it. So we parked it where there was a car park there. It's just in for the pineapple or whatever it is. And then I'm like, how do we get to this? I think I asked somebody and they said it's about 20-30 minute walk or something. I'm like, what? Nah, I'm not.
So I done my research on how to actually get there too. So you know the actual village of Dunmore?
No.
Well, there's a wee village called Dunmore. Just before here, if you're coming from Stirling, and if you were coming from Stirling, you turn left to go into Dunmore, but then there's a wee like path to your right that's got a gate at it. You go straight up that path and follow it all the way around. That's how you get. But you first come to the stables that way, and that's, if it wasn't for the guys, we would have been, because we were like, this isn't it. This can't be it. I thought it was a lot bigger. And then the guys were like, no, the big house is up this way. And we take a
No, because I says to Thomas, I said, are you sure this is it? He went, I'm telling you. And I brought up the photo. I says, where the hell? I says, does that look like that? He went like, he goes like, he says, that is it. I went, I'm telling you. He says, that's not that building. He went, aye, it is. I went, I'm telling you. I says, well, half it's disappeared or corroded then. I says, because it's not here.
you get that but in photographs, sometimes you look at a photo and then you go to the location and it looks totally different. But
it wasn't until we started walking in, I went like that. I says, there it's there. Well, you seen it poking near the trees out, massive. I says, that's the photo there. I says, that's what we were looking for. I says, that's the stables. I says to it.
I'm very respectful these comments. Keep it simple. Speak to spirits you would anyone in life. Like we say, just talk to spirits you would a friend. Exactly. Just what you're saying about the mausoleum, the caskets are long gone, which is a shame. No make evidence fit your story. It's easy to grab at bits of info and misinterpret. Just as Rigga was saying, with the research and that, if you're going to a new location, we've done it. I'll look at, say it's a castle for talking sake. You see when it was built and sort of the main people that lived it, and that's it. That's it. Because I've watched a lot of these teams on YouTube and what, and they'll go to a castle and they'll not tell you where it is or they give no information at all. And I've sat there watching. Whereabouts are you?
Aye.
Tell us something, but don't dig too deep. We did a place called Caldwell. Rigga's done Caldwell, I know. You've done Caldwell, haven't you?
Aye.
And we there's one of our ex-team members, was it Laura, somebody from it, and we spent 2 months investigating there. But we just researched the basics, when it was built, who built it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the evidence we got there was unbelievable. And Rigga will tell you, because they did a few investigations there as well. and it was really, really active. And we got quite a few names, and it was after we got the names that we went away. Well, it was the lassies that done the research, because I'm like you, Scott. I don't have any patience, for all the research and blah, blah, blah. And the names that they found tallied up with the names that we picked up that we knew nothing about prior to us going. So it's when you get things like that, and then you can get back to the location, and it gives you something to build on.
Mm-hmm.
You can get back and say, right, John, are you still here? We met you the last time. I just want to get to know you. Just get as the lassie says in the chat, and Rigga says, just talk if they're standing next to you.
Uh-huh.
Well, we've got a few locations lined up for ourselves. Obviously, we're not going to say too much, but I suppose that's something that we could actually look into for the next investigations, Thomas.
Definitely.
Saying, just gone in, seeing what we can get, then gone home, then doing, well, no me, you do your research, because I've not got the patience to do it. But I think that's what we should do. I reckon it'll make it more exciting for us too.
Aye, 100%.
There's nothing better than
even 2 years, even 2 years could even sit down when I've got the patience to do it. But 2 years could sit down, and the 2 years could go over the evidence and go, right, well, and then do our research. Well, you do your research. I'll sit next to you.
Listening through EVPs, Laura, she uses a voice recorder on her phone. When we're investigating, then she'll come here and we'll load them up on the computer. And I think was it a week we sat for once? Aye, a full week we sat for. And like 3-4 hours a day, getting through them. And it just destroys you. Rigga will tell you, it just destroys you because you're just listening and every
Well, see that footage Thomas got. Remember the one where the Bayfair's got the one where it says moan in. He sat there for near enough. Well, for the 2 videos that he put up, he sat there for nearly 3 hours just to get that wee bit of moan in and jump. 3 hours that took him just to sit there and go through all that.
It is long. It's when you go to investigate. It's time out your day to go and do what you enjoy. You're away doing what you're doing. If you're at abandoned locations, being blunt about it, anything can happen if you're out in abandoned locations at night. Well, that's you into yourself, or people turn up, or whatever. It's quite it is risky. So you've got that, and then you've got your footage that you can go through. And as Scott said, it could take weeks. Sometimes you get next to nothing, but it's also good if you're listening back. Do you know what's actually quite good that you should try? See if one you just leave your phone, but. What I started doing was I left my phone and it was recording, but the camera wasn't on, so it was just running audio, right? So it was just picking up audio.
I did do that.
See if you just leave that for the full investigation, and then listen back to it. It is a lot of listening, but just when you're listening back to it, you're like, what if I hear a voice? What if I hear something? So you get that wee excitement that keeps you going, and then you think you hear something and you wind it back, and then your earphone in, pulling it up, you're back again, and it's like. But then you're gutted when it's no, but then you're what if I hear this, what if I hear that? Especially if it's somewhere that is totally silent.
See,
and
we done
you pick something up.
Aye, we done that at the stables.
We
went up and left his phone at the top, played it back, and all you heard was, "Oh man, I'm a jug with all the jiggy nettles. See the bats flying at my head."
Irie's saying, get used to sitting in the dark cold for hours and getting out. When you do, it's fun. As you do get that buzz when you get something on your investigation. Do you know what I mean? Rigga and I, we did Loudon Cup. I think it was no last time before, and we were doing the back of the yard. You will get to Loudon eventually, and Rigga says, well, you tell them because you saw him, I never.
Oh, that was maybe the second time when we done it together.
Aye.
It
was one of the times.
So in Loudon, there's like it's basically a perfect circle on a tree line, and there's an own shadow man, I would say, that's walking about. Yeah, I do. I take things like that with a pinch of salt. I do, right? Although I'm 100% a believer, but I'm sceptical when it comes to things like that. 2 seconds. Can you shut the door quietly, please? Thank you, my love.
You're getting the frying pan later.
Thank you, dear. So
She's all brave
aye,
with her
it-
legs, she would give us half.
it was just me and Scott, and we decided, you know what, we'll set up was it a ring light, Scott, at the time?
Aye, I've got a ring light.
We ring light, we turned it down, just so that we can kind of cast the first shadow of that. We ran a string with, I think it was a couple of bells on it.
Aye, it was with Christmas bell things.
So we came away for that to the phone. We were maybe about 10 foot for that string. It was to the right hand side. And see that way you sense there's something there. So I turned. Aye, and there was a shadow. This maybe about 6 foot shadow went for the left bush across the path, which is maybe about 3 for the bush to the other bush is maybe about 6 foot wide. I would say 7 foot.
Aye.
Went from there into the other bush, but there was no noise. There was nothing. But I seen it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even the case I seen it beside of my eye. I literally turned and I seen it. It just went like that, right across. Just steady all the way. Just steady height, steady pace for that bush. And it was silent. So if it was a human, you would have heard the bushes.
Aye.
And we went back. I said to Scott, and then we actually took your phone. I think, Scott, we were running live
With the necrophonic and this individual likes to be called by his full name. Because we've been doing loudly for a few years.
We got the name.
I says it was that you, Mr. Dempster, and
Yep.
straight away through the necrophonic came back a very strong Scottish accent and said, "Yes." Rigga might not remember.
What was I did. What was interesting is, Scott, when we took I think the phone was on a tripod at the time, and we took off and went straight to that, and the bushes were as still as anything. There was no movement. There was no wind. There was nothing that night. There was no sound of the bushes getting moved. Nothing. But I definitely seen it, and it's a shame as well because these things tend to happen when you've not got your phone or your camera on them. You'll find that as well. Say you and Scott go, we'll take a wee 10-minute break. You're just kind of chatting amongst yourself. Then you might get something that happens, and that kind of tends to happen quite a lot. It's as if they go right, they're wise to it. They're no asking us questions. They'll get their attention. So it's things like that. You experience that.
Well, that happened when we did Edward's place with the swinging door.
Yep.
We were going to go live, and it was seconds before I went live. The door, this big heavy door, started swung shut. Just before we went live, but then we were lucky enough on the live. It happened I think it was 3 times it happened.
3 times. Yep.
And this door was held against the wall with the old kind of fashion latch kind of hook thing, and the kind of ring thing. And we tried to free the door ourselves, moving it, and this just would not budge. And it happened another 3 times, didn't it?
I think we were trying to debunk that for about an hour and a half.
We tried everything. One of the other guys that was there, he's familiar with the building for the last, 15, 20 years. And he said that it never ever happened before.
And it's never happened since. And how long ago was that? About 2.5 years ago? About 2 years ago?
It's about 2.5 years ago.
And it's never done it. But that Scott, we said we weren't expecting it. But just lucky enough it happened again and we captured it.
Aye.
You get that. Because it's like I say, I think spirit gets wise, because I always believe spirits still get the capability of learning. So as you were saying earlier on, maybe a spirit of the 16th century. Back then education wasn't great, but if they're watching enough people doing through time, and they're watching and they're seeing how these people are using, their cameras or whatever it might be, they could take that on board. This is what I believe. Some folk might say I'm talking bollocks, but I believe they can take that on board because we've had cameras switch off, and no doubt Rigga has, for no reason at all, and nobody's been near them. And, you know, it's no, the batteries have been, there's still plenty of battery in it, but the camera's just turned itself off.
Well, there's times
Well, their batteries got drained, mine, Thomas. Remember your phone had went for, I'm sure you had 89%, and I think it was like not even 2 minutes, and your phone had went down to like 67 or something like that. I'm sure you said.
Aye, but it's things like I take with a pinch of salt. So.
Aye, no, but that's what we were just talking about. Phones dying and that. I mean,
Aye.
it could have been because we were on the live. It could have been because we had umpteen apps open up.
Yep.
As I said, there could be a lot of things that could cause these kind of things to happen. So I suppose you're right. Aye.
There is a lot of things, you know, natural things that can happen, but it's when something, like Laura's saying there, think Ivy House. We did the Ivy House about 3 years ago. It's down near Warrington, and it's a 2-story house. And so we'd set up 2 locked off cameras down the stairs, one in each room. And I went down the stairs and I changed the battery in one of the cameras, and I was just coming back up the stairs. We came back down and that camera turned itself off. Nobody else was there. We were all standing in the room and the camera turned itself on again. Nobody touched it. So it's when you get things like that, and there must have been, how many folk were there? A dozen?
I think it was like 16 years or something.
There was 60, there was quite a crowd. So we were the only ones that everybody else saw it. And because we came down the stairs, says that camera's actually, well, I just changed the battery less than 10 minutes ago. And then it popped back into life. And we couldn't explain that. Laura's saying she's loving the accent. Now, I know she's no talking about me or Rigga, so it must be one of you two guys. She's loving your accent. Whose accent do you love, Laura?
We'll find out in a minute, won't we? Whose accent it was.
So after your investigation last week, did you feel any different after you left done your as you did before you went in?
I did.
See, I think it wasn't more today with the investigation and what we thought we got or what we thought we didn't get. It was more a sense of frustration that we wasted so much of the time trying to get the live sorted, waiting on people. But as I said before in my live, the paranormal review one, that you have to expect that, you know, you don't own that building, you don't own that location, so you've got to expect people to go about and explore that as well, and they've got a fascination with it as well. So, but once we left, I was like, do you know something? Especially after we listened back to the EVP and we heard ourselves talking, I was like, that's all that time that we've wasted, just by doing silly things like talking when it was running, and between the signal, and it was just a sense of frustration. But I says, we'll take it on the chin and remember all these things for next time, because, as you know, like, everybody makes mistakes. It's about learning from them. So,
you see, the mistake that I'm just going to, when batteries go in rapid succession, it's quite. This happened to us. It's happened to Rigga News. It's happened to us many times. I remember we hadn't long started. We were going to do an investigation in Greyfriars at 3 a.m, and I'd fill it. We only had 2 batteries at the time because we just started out. And we went to Greyfriars, and the battery life was meant to be something like an hour and a half, something like that, each battery. Both our batteries lasted about 15 minutes each. They just totally drained. And I always remember I had 56% battery in my phone. So I thought, right, I'll use that. But then that just went downhill. And, you know, when things like that happen, you need to think, well, what's draining these batteries? Who's draining these batteries? You know, and it's, I mean, it happens worldwide. It's not just a one app with the odd team. It happens to countless teams. back.
I thought you were talking about, like, see when we left the location, as in how we felt, as in, like, with me explaining obviously about me feeling sick, dizzy, my back pain, feeling like we're getting followed. That's what I thought you had meant.
I know, I didn't mean that. I meant in general. You know,
Oh.
did the investigation leave you with a kind of different outlook on the paranormal to what you had before you went in, and then physically, you know?
It did for me, like, a lot, like, as in, I felt like we were definitely getting watched. I felt like we were getting followed. I had marks on my back, but that could have been due to, I don't know, because I was sweating. So, and you do get sweat marks, and you do get kind of, you know what I mean, because my skin does go red. But the lower back pain that I got, it was more like somebody was kind of, it wasn't sore. When I say back pain, it was more like, I don't know, like somebody was pushing me down like that, like trying to flatten me, basically. And it was like, it was just, I don't know, it was like as if I was getting pulled down when I was walking. So it was like I felt heavier. And I kept looking round, and I kept looking round at Thomas, and but with my very worst to you, I said, "There's somebody there," and I said, "Are you getting the feeling?" I said, "That somebody's there," and I took my t-shirt off. He looked at my back, and there was like 2 scratches, as if somebody had went down my back like that. And then where I pointed with my back pain, well, the pressure was on my back. It was really, really hot down my lower back. But once again, it was like, it was just as we were leaving that location. That's when it started, and I just got the urge, feeling really, really uncomfortable. And I tell you that, didn't I? I says, whoever it is, I says, either didn't want us there. I says, or we've missed something, and that's the way I kind of try and, I don't know, lure us back maybe, or kind of get their attentions, because we never spoke to them, or we missed them, or I don't know.
It could be, you know, it's that wine cellar. There's somebody's in there that's wanting you to go in, and they're frustrated because you didn't go in. They're annoyed because you didn't go in. I'm not saying that is the case. It's possible, you know.
And that's what I was getting at in the review show was, if you listen to the slowed down version, you hear moan in, and then just before the clip cuts out, it's like it's gone in. But to me, like, people would go, that sounds more aggressive. I say it could be frustration, because they kind of go, come on in, like, put their arms around you and, like, drag you in. It's like the only way they can get is like this communication through the experiments that we try out. And as Rigga says, like, they're not perfect, so.
No, that's what I said. I'll put this question up for you, and I'll come back to that a wee second. How did you feel the next day?
I felt it was at night time for some reason. Now I struggle to sleep at night. I don't know if you've heard them, like serious night terrors. I take them really, 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 really bad. And I've woken up and tried to jump out my window. I've tried to flip folk at their beds. It's all weird. And as I says, I struggle to sleep at night. But when I go home that night, I slept like a baby. Woke up the next day and I felt fantastic. And I've never, ever, 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 and even Thomas will tell you, I've went to the doctors, I've been to psychiatrists, I've been to everybody possible, and there's nothing that's ever helped me. And just ever since that night, I don't know, just when we were waiting to get picked up from my mum that night, I felt great. I felt absolutely brilliant. I don't know if it was just because we'd done the investigation, but the next day, I felt absolutely brilliant the next day.
See, it's actually funny that you mentioned that, because the day after it, now I've got a 1.5-year-old son, and I'm running about after him most of the time. And waking up with him, usually we get up about 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I'm like, till I get my coffee. But that next day, I was like, I had so much more energy in me. Like, I was like, I'm wide awake and I haven't even had a sip of coffee yet.
I don't know if that really answered the question, but aye, that's how we felt the next day.
Mhm.
I feel absolutely wrong.
That's how you felt, because you get, but us in the trade, listen to us as seasoned investigators, us in the trade, we call it a paranormal hangover. Some folk believe it doesn't exist, but you get days after an investigation, you get up, no doubt Rigga said them, I know, and you've just no energy at all. You've got the motivation, but your body's just not wanting to go where you want it to go. And I mean, my thinking behind that is because when you're doing an investigation, spirits draw on energy from all different places, including yourself. But because you're that focused on your investigation, you don't notice it.
Yeah.
And it's known to the next day that you're kind of calmed down basically for the investigation, that it takes its toll on you. Would you think, Rigga?
Aye. No, definitely. It's with that as well. You look at you're walking the places, and then when you're at a location, we don't just sit still. We go and look different places. We go upstairs, we go downstairs. We go out the one side of the building, away to the other side of the building. Even the likes of just putting equipment out, picking equipment up, moving equipment. So are actually essentially doing a good bit of exercise.
We did some amount of walking. I mean, we were on our feet. We never sat down, Ken, because there was nowhere to sit. But it was we were kind of moving about quite a lot. So.
You have got that, and as Scott was saying, you might not notice it, but it is possible that spirits could be draining you essentially.
Yeah.
Like just the way they would drain batteries, they're draining you, but you don't feel the effect because you're up here with excitement, constantly thinking, "What if this happened? What if this happened? What if this happened?" But you've got all that. But all that.
As I said, it was just as soon as we left the estate. No, well, the house. As soon as we left that, and I was saying about the lower back pain and obviously like the scratches on my back. But when we left that bit and we went back to the stables, when we would go back to the stables, I felt fine. I felt totally fine. It was just as soon as we were walking that path to go back to the stables, Fairy Estate, that's when I started getting the kind of pressure that was it was like literally dragging me down. It was like as if I weighed a ton. I know I weigh a ton, but it was like an extra ton.
It could be. It's like anything else. If you want to speak to somebody, you're going to speak to somebody. If you don't, you're not going to. With you being there, is that your first? Obviously, that's your first time going to that location, I'd imagine.
Aye, aye.
So, use are there. Let the spirits know why you're there, right? You want to communicate with them and stuff.
Yeah.
How long were you there for?
But
3 years.
Oh,
so say about 3 years. So there might be that one wee spirit that goes, "Oh, these guys are actually all right. I'm definitely going to communicate with them." But at that point, they've decided that. Obviously, you don't know they've decided that, and then you went, "You know what? Time's getting on a wee bit, so we'll leave." And it could be that spirit's went, "Oh, wait a minute. I've been here. I can communicate with you. I'm trying to communicate." And then that could be them just kind of.
I think it was all more linked to that wine cellar, Rigga. I think it was like because I kept saying to Thomas, I says when we were standing up the top slope bit, and I kept saying to him, I kept going to him, I says that entrance there, I says, keeps catching my attention, and he goes like that to me. He goes, "I know," and then every so often something catch a corner of my eye, and I kept going to him, I says, "I can see something." Then obviously it was the bats that was kind of catching the corner of my eye, but it was just you just felt like something that was standing in that archway, like even though you couldn't see it, but you could feel it. Something was there, and it was like, "Come here, come over," type of thing. It was like, even though we never heard it saying that, but you know for a fact it was something standing there trying to lure us over to that bit. And obviously that was when it was time for us to go, right, well, we've got enough evidence. That'll be us. We'll just go home now. Phone your mum to come and pick us up.
Next
So-
time
See,
you go, next time you go, I would solely just look at concentrating on that bit, or run about that area. I know, obviously, with the live information, it's a bit of a signal.
That's what we're going to
Yeah.
do. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go
So,
back and we're going to
That's
get
what I would
chairs.
do. Even set a wee camera up, a wee GoPro, maybe a wee trigger object, something simple, a wee object, and even if you just come away for that a wee bit, run an EVP or something, and just come away not too far away, because obviously there's folk about, they'll walk about, they might see it, they might not know what the equipment is, but they're more likely going to go, oh, what's this, and whatever. Not too far, but just let that do its thing, with a camera rolling, use David's and then go back.
But I will definitely say 100% there's plenty of activity there to be investigated. Plenty. Now, that was just that one wee bit. Now, that estate's massive. That's huge. Me and Thomas, if we were to cover all that, we would have been there 2 hours in the morning, like Ken, gone round that full estate. So I think next time when we're going, that wine cellar, that's our main focus. So we're going to get camping chairs. We're going to set up a camera, and we're just going to sit there and record it, and that's just going to be our location. We're just going to go into that wine cellar, put the recorder on, see what we can catch, and then, as I say, we'll just take it from there.
See, that was the main plan that day. That was...
I'll just stick these two comments up quick. Yeah, my friend suffers badly from it as well. I think Laura's talking about Scott, your night terrors. I think we have experienced as a rare thing. Most people suffer from paranormal hangover. I can't sleep after investigation, but do get hangover because of the over concentration, etc. But I mean, like Dunmore House, I'm going to compare it to Caldwell. Rigga will know what I mean. Caldwell, you've got the main house, but then you've got, I think it's another 4 or 5 individual buildings spread around the estate. They're all abandoned. They're all just wrecks, basically. But you do go into a place and you investigate one, and you think, no, there's a lot more to learn here. And so it might take you, I mean, for instance, Loudon's not a massive place, but we were at Loudon the best part of a year before. We got flashes of cat balls, K2, but we were there the best part of a year before we got any, say, intelligent EVPs through. Before we get a name we could actually work on. So I mean, that's a year, do you know what I mean? So you just keep going back and back to Dunmore.
But see, Scott, the only thing I'll say about Dunmore House is see at night time when it's like pitch black, you've got no other lighting apart from what you've got on you. So if you've not got a torch, you're gubbed because you've got about 10-foot drops. So you could be walking on a level surface, and then you'll not see this edge, and this edge has got a 10-foot drop. Now, if you're out there on your own, hence why we'd advise folk not to go out there on their own, because if something was to happen to you and you were to fall, break your leg, you're not getting a signal. So
that's the thing he was saying about he goes to places during the day. I've done it as well. You go to places during the day just to have a wander around, so you can see. You can even take a pen, a notepad with you, and say, right, there's a 10-foot drop there, and so
see the other thing
back in night time.
But see, the other thing is, when me and sorry for interrupting, when me and Thomas were like down at that location, the way we got done, it was when we were going back out, it was confusing for us because we kept going the wrong way. We're going, how did we get back out? How did we get back out here? Type of thing, didn't we? So we got confused. So obviously, because I don't know if it's just because the way that the building's laid out and everything does look the same, it's like easy to take the wrong turn in. You'll not get, as I say, you could get lost in it, but you're not going to get that lost where you're going to sit there and panic because there is ways out. But we're looking at each other and we're going, I never came this way. So he's sitting there following me and I'm going, I says, what you following me for then? I says, if it's not that way. He goes, I don't know. So I'm following him. He's gone the wrong way, and I went, for Jesus Christ, I says, how do we get out here? But that's what I'm saying. It's like we sat up at the top, and we kind of planned it because you can see it for a bird's eye view. because obviously with the drops and that, so you can look round and you can go, right, we need to walk round that way. And when we go round that way, it's like, where is that bit, Ken? And it's like,
You lose it totally.
well, that's what we did. Eh? We were looking at each other and we're going, how do we get back up here?
Stick these comments, sit and listen for a while, get accustomed to the ambience. Then look back at your EVPs, your footage, and hopefully they will line up. We need to get back to Caldwell, pretty please. I do want to get back to Caldwell and have a wander about.
Not happening.
That's a gaffer. Tell me it's no happening. It doesn't have to be night time to investigate spirit. That's true. We've done plenty of investigations during the night, during the day, and we've had plenty of evidence. But I mean, when you were saying there you go, there's a place where Rigga's done it, Dalcahan House. We've done that a couple of times, and it's got an amazing basement. You know, it's a ruin, but it's got and there's a set of wee twirly stairs that take you down into the basement. I was doing it myself once, and I couldn't find the stairs to get back up, and I just came down them. And I was up and down the basement thinking, where the hell are these stairs? I eventually found them, you know. So you will get times of that. You'll be at a place you think, right, do I go left or right here? But you maybe just walk down that path 5-10 minutes beforehand. But that's part of the funny, getting lost in the dark.
No, when
even if you go to a location
and get in your pants, it's no.
See, even if you go to a location that you've travelled an hour or whatever to go to, and you get absolutely nothing. You look through your footage and you get nothing. It's still worth it, but because you're still you're experiencing these buildings that you would never have been to if you never done the paranormal. You know what I mean? There's places I've been to, Scott's been to, you're going to end up going to, you wouldn't have went. But you're going to meet people on the way. There will be good people, there will be bad people. Bad people.
Bad
people.
There's some bad people there, pal.
As I say to Tommy, you need to have a bit of thick skin as well, which I'm sure you have anyway. So, because there is a lot of back and forward malarkey, carry on, useless, hopeless stuff that you probably will stumble across in the paranormal. When I first started, I've been in the paranormal since I've been 18. Not constantly. But the first time I was 18, and then I started Spig. But so I spoke to a guy at Ren, I can't remember what it was, Renfield or whatever it was, paranormal. And believe it or not, I was speaking to him saying I'm going to start my own team. And the first thing he said to me was, make sure you've got thick skin and be prepared. Right? So I've says, what do you mean? He said, just be prepared. And what he was talking about was all the bitching. Right. So you will get that. You will get folk that think they've got this big, massive ego. Yeah, again, you'll meet. I wouldn't have met Big Cheese if it wasn't for the paranormal. Obviously, my team is brilliant. I've got a good bond with Aim. I've met Tommy. I've met Scott through it as well. For asking. So there is good things that come with it, but you need to bear in mind there is also bad things that will come with it. Not necessarily bad that it's going to affect you, but if you let it affect you, it will. So what I will say is make sure you get thick skin and be prepared for that. And the most important thing is that you need patience. Have patience, because you could be sitting in an investigation for 6 hours and get ready to leave and something might happen. Or you could go into a location and get something, and then the rest through that investigation getting nothing. So there is times where you might be getting stuff and then it'll get relatively quite boring, quiet, and you need to start thinking, right, I've asked this, we've done this, what can we try now? Even have a wee chat amongst yourselves, see things will pick up. But it will be, you need to be patient with things like that. But definitely patience and make sure you get thick skin.
Well, I'm definitely glad that we've seen like the the advice that we have tonight, because on our page we let the followers vote on where the next location was going to be, and I believe that it is going to be Logie Kirk, or as it's better known as the Old Kirk. Now, I never done any research on that today, and before this, I've never really knew much about it. I've known it's been there, so I'm actually going to take your guys' advice, and I'm going to go and just with a clear mind, not knowing much about it, and
See what we can get.
mhm.
Oh,
I just one place. Just with Rigga was saying, ego's a problem. And paranormal is unity, it's friends, but you do get the odd a-hole who'll bring you down. I'm just going to reinforce what Rigga says. We've been going 5 years. Rigga will tell you, we've had a fair share of drama and all, backstabbing and all that bollocks. And it's just, as I always say, it's ego. And Laura says, a-holes basically. You're always going to get teams out there that think they're better than you, that think they want the better caps. Well, you might get a full sentence, but they'll go and get 3 full sentences, or they'll get excuse the French, a fucking demon, whatever. I know I swore that, but you might get a grumpy old man. Somebody else will get Satan just to be bigger than you, or you'll get teams that will. I could rant about this for hours, by the way.
sorry, guys. I just want to say something. My phone might cut off. I've got it on charge, but instead of it gone up in charge, it's gone down in charge. So it's sitting at 1%, but it's got the wee charger symbol. It's just in case I get cut off.
But if you can't, just add you back in or steal your missus's phone or something.
My missus, I've not got you, and I've not got a missus. I'm a single man, so main phone.
A lone ranger. But no, as I say, I do it for yourselves, not for us. You're always going to get people to put you down. People want to be better than you. People say your evidence is crap. People try to debunk your evidence and all the rest of it. Just let them go in there. I'm saying that, but there's one team in Scotland that really getting on my ends in it. And Rigga knows who they are. They get demons and all the rest of it in the bars and stuff like that.
Just the one team?
And with the other team, they've been kind of quiet for a while.
Well, can I just give you a wee quick example, and obviously with the ego thing and stuff like that. So we travelled. It was just as I started Spig. I think Spig wasn't even 6 months, right? Running 6 months, and I think we travelled to, I want to say Strathmore. I'm not too sure. It was about a 2-hour drive, right? Mm-hmm. We went and met with this team that's been to this location countless amount of times. So we went, met them, things were going good, had a good night, reviewed footage, and I'll only post up what I think could be paranormal. I'll never say it is. I'll let the viewers choose, but sometimes I'll say, well, it's very unexplainable, so it really is a good chance it could be paranormal. So anyway, so it was your first night investigating, and I think there was 3 or 4 clips I put up. I think one was David. I think David was in the team yet. One was an EVP. One was, I actually think it was if we get the planchette moving on the Ouija board. So it was just myself and Spig, the folk that were in the team at the time. And I'll only do the Ouija board with those that I trust, because it's so easy to manipulate. So I could trust the ones that I've chose to do the Ouija board. But it did move. It moved to B or whatever it was. I can't really remember. But it genuinely moved. So there's a few clips I put up anyway. So the next day or two, I got a message for the person that ran that team saying that we were nothing but fakers. We're just full of fakery. We're only out there to try and get views, which that's one thing it doesn't bother me that. Just to get in the spotlight, essentially. So, and that was all because of their ego and jealousy, because when we were there that first time, we actually captured more evidence than what they did over the previous times they were there. I think 6, 7 times they were there or whatever. I think that was maybe their 7th time. We actually captured some stuff. So it doesn't matter what anybody says. And to this day, I'll say to the team, look, we believe what we believe. Those that watch us know that, or those that spin it with us or whatever, know that what you see is what you get. And that's what matters. We're ourselves. If we go and get nothing, we get nothing. If we get some stuff we think could be paranormal, we get some stuff we think it could be paranormal. But they didn't like that. So I get this big message in that we were all fake. And it was just doing that whole road. But the whole night was fine. We got on. everybody was having a laugh. It was a good environment. Everybody was all friendly. And then I think it was 2 days later, I got that message saying that they'll no work with us again because we faked the Ouija board, we faked DVP, we pre-recorded DVP, it was things like that. And that was all because they classed that as their location because they'd been there countless amount of times. And my message back was, look, if you'd botched us, I think we were 6 months, and yet I said, you done fine well that night, what you see is what you get. And it's all down to whoever wants to communicate with you. You know, there could be somebody there in that team they didn't like, so they're not going to communicate with anybody else. It could be we went and the spirits if want to communicate with myself or communicate with somebody in Spig, just maybe find that comfort zone. It could be that, you know what I mean? It could be how we conducted it compared to how they conduct it. Just things like that. But no, I didn't like that. So they barred me and all this, and then they made me out of the big bad guy. I've had that loads of times. In fact, I've not had it in a while before. But I've always said to the team, it does not matter what anybody thinks. And the way we see it is, everybody's got their own opinion. Right? So, well, that's positive and negative. We'll take on board. We'll learn from people that leave comments and say, maybe you should have tried it this way. Because we still make mistakes. Maybe you should have tried it this way. We'll take that on board. But then when it gets nasty, it gets nasty. So I'm not going to say it's going to happen because it might never happen. But just it will make you stronger. And folk, the more you progress and maybe start getting noticed and folk what work with you and vice versa, that's when folk will start getting jealous and saying, oh, watch out for they too, or this and that. And I've experienced it, Scott. Two have experienced it at the same time. Just a whole load of nonsense. Just because me and Scott became pals through it, certain people didn't like that, so they actually tried to end Spig, end PIH, and all that. It was a whole I find it funny. I find it amusing. But
it's funny looking back at the time. It was annoying. I was going to do a couple of comments. There's no right and there's no wrong way.
No,
you do your own thing. You know what I mean? And one of my investigations was bugged by a team I used to be part of just to pry and cause trouble. Could write about the bitching and backstabbing. And most genuine team is Spig, apart from PIH. Just what else you put there. But no, you're going to get that. I mean, when you first start out in this field, you do try. We did it. You know, we were new to it. We tried to fit in. You know, but then through time you learn. Don't try and fit in. Don't try and be like everybody else because that's what the bollocks. Just be yourself. And everybody knows me, knows Rigga. They'll tell you, we just say it as it is. If folk don't like it, they can jog on. Do you know what I mean? Island's the same. And so you do your own thing. As I say, if you think you've got an idea, it might sound totally stupid to 9 people, but you make that one person, that's quite a good idea. Just go and fucking do it. Nothing to lose, but the amount of backstabbing and ego and all that is unbelievable. The paradrama that goes on, but you don't try and fit in with all the other teams. You know, there are genuine teams out there. You know, Spig, Islands team, Phantom Seekers Paranormal, Nicholas team, Whispers Soul Paranormal, Highland Paranormal. They're based in Inverness. That's Liam Shan's team. Unlock Paranormal, they're kind of local. Well, Inverness isn't local, but you know what I mean. They're in Scotland, you know what I mean. So you get to meet. We've been really lucky with the people. We've met some a-holes, you know, down the line, as Rigga has as well. But the majority, we've been quite lucky that we've met genuine teams. But you yourself will get to know who's genuine and who's a cabbage. Sorry, Laura doesn't like that word getting used, but you know, you learn to differentiate the carrots for the cabbages. Just by talking to them, by watching what they do, and just do your own thing. And you're going to get people that are going to try and debunk you. You know, like I was saying when you were using that wee candle last week, it kept going out. You guys were saying there was no draft. You're going to get people that will turn around and say, oh, there definitely was a draft, definitely, even though there wasn't. And Rigga will know what I'm talking about. So that's why I say, well, you know, if you're using it again, put the candle inside the glass. and nobody can say, aye, it's the draft that's doing it. You know.
Aye, definitely.
See, in the same sense as well, it does help you because you will get folk that will criticise and stuff like that. It's just the way the world works. It doesn't matter what you're into. If you're into football, paranormal, skateboarding, it doesn't matter. You're always going to get criticised. But it does make you better. It makes your team stronger, makes you stronger as an individual because you know that you want to prove these people wrong, but you basically want to go, do you know what, two's up. You know what I mean? This is what I'm doing. You're not going to stop it. We've had threat. I don't put up where I'm going, right? So I'll name them, just different names, because I don't really want to give location away and stuff like that. But there was a team that found out that we were going to be at this location, and then I got all these threats that they're coming to the location and this and that. And it was just as Liz joined the team, and I think Stephen was only there a few weeks. So in fact, Scott, we were with you, I think, and we went to this location, and I said to them, look, it was Lizzie's second time out. I said, look, there's been this threat. I've been privately mailed a threat coming saying that this team's turning up and are going to bombard the investigation. And so, listen, I'm going to stay here, but for your safety, I want you to leave. But they were like, no, we're here as a team, we're staying as a team. And that's it. They never turned up. But these are grown adults, and you ask yourself, why? Why don't you just go and out and do what you're doing? If you want to go out and fake it or be idiots or try and degrade people and think, just do that. Let us do the real stuff, the proper stuff. You know what I mean? And that's how you'll get these teams. There's big ones in Britain and that, and they get all these views, 500,000 views and per live and stuff, because they fake it, because they make it entertaining. Wherefore, we don't go live. If we go live, we'll maybe get 20, 25 views or something like that, people watching. But we'll never get as many as 500,000 because what they are seeing as a proper paranormal, how it's getting conducted, the real way, what to expect. That's what it is. There's times where it's going to go quiet. There's times where folk are going to run out of questions. You're going to get brain block. You're going to get something that happens. I tend to fart a lot. I don't know, just happens. But that helps investigation because these spirits are seeing you for who you are. You're not putting a front on. You're not trying too hard. You're just being yourself, and you're having a laugh, and which is always important, having a laugh and things like that. Because then the spirits go, wait a minute, these guys are actually... Because what you've got to bear in mind as well is, I don't know, obviously, I imagine you'll probably start getting some merch and stuff. But so we've got it, but yours is all black. Now, I always say to the team, make sure we wear it. It doesn't matter if we go to a house, abandoned, a cemetery, just any location, wear it, because if somebody turns up, we've had a couple of times the police have turned up and just asked what we're doing. That comes with it. But if they see us properly dressed and go, right, hold on, we look kind of that professional way. However, there's investigations that we've been to, I believe there's maybe kids. Now, 4 people standing all in black asking these questions. I could find it's probably going to be quite intimidating to the spirits. You know what I mean? So that's why we generally like to have a laugh, and if we believe it's a kid, we'll kind of get down to what we think the height of the kid could be and things like that, and just kind of make it that comfort way. But there's loads of them where I'll never, no one on this planet will ever fully understand the paranormal. It's never been proven. It's never been scientifically proven, the paranormal. Never. I think, I can't remember when, years and years and years ago, they were actually offering money for somebody to prove real paranormal existence. I don't know how much it was, $200,000 or something like that, and it's never been proven.
They'll never prove it. Irene's saying I've got the grill on for your Friday. We're going through Irene's and Eileen's on Friday for a spot of lunch and a visit. It's been a pleasure, gentlemen. I hope to do a collab soon. Tommy, just be yourself. Night, guys. Don't take it to heart. They're bang on. What Rigga's saying and all bang on. You're going to get teams of there. I mean, when Sarah and I first started, we knew two individuals, you know, and we fell out after about a month or something. And basically, they said, you will go nowhere, you know, and we're quite big and we're going to be doing this and doing that. And it's not that I stop them, but you do get nosy. I jump onto the page every now and again, you know, and it's not trying to be big-headed or nothing, but 5 years down the line, and they're still doing the same thing as they were doing 5 years ago. You know, they're not getting anywhere further, they're not getting any bigger. And one of them's developed a sudden talent for being a medium and reading tarot cards. This came out of his backside. I don't know where it came from. It just appeared, you know. I can read tarot cards. Do you know what I mean? I can read cards and all. But don't you know the 5 of clubs, ace of diamonds? I can read cards, same, you know, but this comedian thinks you like that? Rigga got that one.
No,
oh, come on, that was funny.
It's the fact you say read. You
Can
can't even
you
read.
hear me all right?
Aye.
Can anybody hear Scott? I can't hear Scott.
I can hear him.
I can't hear you, mate.
Do you know why
Aye,
that
you
one?
can.
Read cards, 5 of hearts, jack of clubs. But and it's 5 years down the line. These folk are doing, they're doing nothing, and we you know, we're getting bigger and bigger. So don't let folk put you down, say, you know, usual only last a couple of months and you boot again. I mean, dig up your granny or something like that, give me peace. Do you know what I mean? Do what you do and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. What? So you'll get people, as I said earlier on, you know, I've been in the paranormal for 30
No, that
years.
you'll get folk trying to take the piss out of us too, Ken, because we ken a few folk that there's reasons why we've not invited them to the page, and we ken them because they will genuinely take the piss. Excuse my language, but they will, and we know they will, Thomas. We've got a few. We know a few. And
Well, we started off as a public group, and it was only, was it 2-3 years ago?
What?
We went private.
Yeah.
Aye, 2-3, we were getting a lot of trouble. I mean, so somebody says to us, why do you just go private? So we started to scratch again about 3 years ago. In fact, it was 3 years ago this month, we started again. So you're starting to scratch with the group and all the rest of it. But you're going to get that, Scott. You're going to get people that are going to want to cause you trouble. And
well, that's how we've made it private. So we've made it so it's just we've got to invite folk, or if you invite folk, we've got to approve it. So if we didn't like the look of somebody, we'll go, nah, decline. So we're in control of it. So there's just no random folk are joining our group. We ken who's joining our group. So we ken
I always tell Scott, I says, like, see these people that he's obviously talking about. They're the type of people that would laugh at people trying to prove this, like, maybe not prove it, but record, like, evidence it. They would take the piss out of that.
How scared you?
They're the same. Hold on. They're like the same men that pay like £10,000 a year to go and watch 11 men kick a ball out of a park. Like, I like football as well, but I'm not that into it, if you know what I mean.
with serious folk that are trying, I was talking to veteran Miller last night on the show. These people that are trying to knock you down, try to slag you off, you know, all the rest of it. See if you were to turn around and say to them, have you ever had something happen to you that you can't explain? I bet you 95% of them would turn and say, I have. You know, I was talking with veterans about this last night. Folk say, oh, well, I don't really believe in it. Oh, but wait a minute. 2 years ago, this happened. You know, so the odds are these people, and 9 times out of 10 is jealousy, you know, because you're actually getting up off your backside and going out and doing something.
Folk just want to see you fail.
That's
what I was saying to Thomas Scott just when your phone died. On your paranormal journey, you're going to get folk that's going to try and be nasty and stuff. We've had it. I've experienced it. Myself and the team know it doesn't matter what these people say. We enjoy doing it. We enjoy travelling. We enjoy meeting new faces. We know that we're going to get criticised. Doesn't matter what you do. But we know that we're professional in what we do and we're legit. And what you see is what you get. And if we believe it's possible paranormal, that's all that matters. We just go and do what we do and we put stuff up on the page. And that is it. If anybody's got any problem, we don't let it affect us. It's difficult for us. If I go to my work, I work in the council, right? So it's all males, right? So you know what the banter's like in places like that. I get slagged all the time about it. Oh, here comes Shaggy, ho ho ho. But I'll say to them, I'll tell you what, I'll take you out on Saturday. I'll take you a location. I'll take you in a mental asylum. I'll take you out the equipment. I'll show you how to use it. I'll leave you half an hour in that basement, in that room yourself, and I'll just go and stand in the hall, and I guarantee you can't do it. No. The exact words are, every single one of them will say, I'm not going to with you, you creepy B.
Exactly.
Because they don't want to be proven wrong, and they don't want to be put in that place where, but I'll take you. They don't want that, and that's the thing. So they try and slag me, but I'm like,
the odds are, if you took them to the basement in Dalquahar, it's a big long basement, it's pitch black, and says, took them down and say, right, I'll come back for you in half an hour. Chances are they'd be right behind you coming back up the stairs.
Yep.
Oh, no, I was only kidding, mate. You know what I'm like? I was only kidding. But I mean, islanders, you learn who you can trust with experience. You do. You get to know them. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, when Rigga first contacted me, I was a bit dubious because there was another team involved at that time that we kind of fell out with. And I'd say to Sarah, look, this guy's contacted us, I'm not too sure, blah, blah, blah. And then he contacted us again. I said, do you know what? No, I'm going to do a video call with this guy. Mind that.
Right.
And
you were in a graveyard?
I were in Greyfriars.
Greyfriars.
And but I did say, Rigga, look, I never contacted you the first time because of A, B, and C. And but then as I got to know him, I know he's no shy around a steak pie, as you can tell. But this guy's all right. And Laura finally made me my steak pie last week. It was bagging, absolutely bagging. But that's a story for another day. But
I bet you're thinking, no, Scott, why the fuck did I phone him?
I am thinking, why the hell did I phone him? I said that, no me. But I phoned them and we got chatting and what have you, and then we met up and investigated, and you just get the feeling that they are genuine people. So
you'll definitely know.
You'll what be?
I said no, he's a twat.
But because you're just starting out, if you get with a team that's been in the paranormal game for 10 years, there's probably a good chance that they'll not even try and show you the ropes. They'll just say, this is how we do it. This is the right way to do it. Rather than saying, look, this is 6 months you've been in, how's things, how he's getting on, what equipment he's using. No, use it this way. Or how about you try this? This is what we tend to do. We seem to get a better response. Can I just show you things? There will be folk who will say, no, you don't do it like that, mate. That's not how you do it. We do it this way. So you do it this way. I was
going to say that.
So you'll get that. But again, listen, if it's what you two want to do and you enjoy it and you get that excitement factor, well, that's going to reviewing footage, because on the way you're going to get probably gather something amazing. You will capture something that you're like, wait a minute here, and you can't wait to show the world, right? You can't wait. And that's what it's all about. When we went to the Spig location last year, it was absolutely torrential rain, right? So we're coming back in torrential rain, and just at that, I'm looking through my camera, and I'm like, it was recording, so I'm running the recording, and I'm like, there's a figure that just passed that door. And I'm looking at Liz, there's a figure that just passed that door. David was driving this time. I'm trying to show David while he's driving, and he's like, I can't watch it now, you need to wait till we get to yours. So we're sitting, David literally stopped in the middle of the road, right? We're sitting, we're looking, no way. Boys were excited. I got that excited for whatever reason, torrential rain. I ended up outside the car looking at my phone, right? I'm like, I came in the street. I don't know. I just got so excited, right? And I'm like, I need to go. So this is about 4 in the morning. I was actually working at 7 that morning, right? It was about 4 in the morning. I came up the stairs that excited. I woke Lindsay up, my missus up, right? Lindsay. And she moans when I do it, obviously. Wake up, look at this. So she's like, oh, look at what? I said, shadow, look at that shadow. Me, David, and Liz were all way up the other side. We were up with us cameras, and this shadow's passed. What the heck, right? So I'm like, oh, I can't wait till the morning. I cannot wait till the morning to get this posted. I was so excited I didn't sleep. So excited. And then the morning came and David messaged me. And he went, I was just running through that footage. I says, aye. He said, that was the time that I left to go and get the REM pod. And what I done is I went up the stairs. So it turned out it was actually him that passed. But I was that excited. And then see when we found that out, my soul just left. Honestly, my heart just went. I was so devastated. And that's when you know that you're truly passionate about it. Because there is a lot of folk out there that would put that up and say, oh, look what we captured. Oh, we captured a shadow passing, a possible spirit passing the door.
Me and
But I
Thomas
was
could
told-
have done all that. We could have done all that. We had hundreds of things that we could have posted up and says, that's a shadow, that's a face. And we could have done that if we really, really wanted to. But
Yep.
why?
You
What's
will
the
get
point?
folk that will. But again,
But
as
what's the
Scott
point?
said, that's you know these people. You get to know them, whether that's you actually meet them or you're on their page or chatting to them through Messenger or whatever. But you'll get to know these people. You'll get to suss out who's legit. And I could have came to your house, Tommy, right? For instance, I went like to the team, right? Girls, I say don't give me too much information. Just give me a wee kind of rundown, which I usually do. And I could have went, right, we're going to go in here. Right, we're going to get that wire. We're going to pull it at some point. We're going to do this. We're going to make it so exciting. And then we're going to leave. And then Tommy will want us back. But then I could go like to Tommy, it's kind of short notice, mate. You know, we're starting to charge money now. So it's going to be £100 for us to come out. If it runs over midnight, it's going to be an extra £50 an hour, for instance.
Aye.
And then fake it. And then you're paying this money out your pocket because you believe that we're legit and what we're doing. You believe what we're getting is paranormal when we know it's not. Right? But we're legit in what we do, but you will get folk like that. So keep that in mind, that you will get folk. We done a property and had a really good relationship with this guy. He got to the stage he would just leave us his keys. He'd go away to Edinburgh and leave us in North Queensferry, I think it was. And right at the bridge. And fully trusted us. Everything. Absolutely trusted us. And he said that he got a team out before. No, the first time I went out, he gave me an envelope, right? When we were finishing it. And I knew what it was. And I went, I'm not taking it. And he went, just take it. It's for you and the team for coming out. And I says, I'm not taking that. I said, out of interest, how much is in it? And he went, £500. And I says, I'm not taking the £500. If you never asked us to come out, we would have been in an abandoned place in the freezing cold. But we're grateful that you've asked us to come out. Now, I could have went, oh, thank you very much. That's brilliant. When would you like us back out? You know what I mean? And then it just goes through there. I could have played on that. So you will get people that will just date for that factor.
And Irene says it's all about motivation. Some do it for like stars, etc. They don't care about the truth. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, it's happened to us. You get a really good capture, you know, and you're like that. Oh yes, you know, great, yourself pat in the back. But then you move on, you know. But as I says, you will get teams over there that'll get a really good capture, and they'll broadcast it to the world. Look what we caught. You know, nobody else has ever caught this. You know, we're the only ones. See, we've had a good few ones, and aye, it's quite good. I don't need pat in the back. You know, well done. Let's keep going. And you know, like followers and views, everybody likes to see their numbers going up. You know, but we don't do this. Same as Rigga, Island, etc. We don't do this or get people to follow us, and so we can get 10,000 followers or whatever. It's not about that. We do it because we love doing it. We're passionate about it, and we enjoy it, and we enjoy meeting people, even through doing these podcasts. The amount of people that we've met doing podcasts is unbelievable, and a lot of them, don't get me wrong, we've had a couple of wee cabbages on the show, you know, but 95% is genuine people, and who are just they're not interested in fame and or the rest of it. They're just doing it because they love doing it. When groups
Scott,
start
can I
monetizing, it's rocky road downhill.
Can I just quickly put my bit in before I go? Because I'm working in the morning.
I'm just going
Just
to
what-
wind it up there anyway.
Just
I
as
just
well,
knows the time.
just as we're talking about eagles and stuff now, what you will learn is, so if somebody puts a bit of footage up and you look at it, you'll start understanding it more and going, we'll use an orb for example, right? I think genuinely since I've started Spig, I've only ever captured 2 orbs that I believe could be orbs, right? The rest of it is dust, right? But you'll learn that. So somebody could put it up and you could just leave a comment saying, I think that is more likely dust rather than an orb. They'll take that personal. And then what they do is they'll flip it. Like there was a team that ran the SLS camera on their phone, the Stickman camera. Now, the SLS camera, whether it's on your phone or the actual SLS camera, I don't use them. They're supposed to be stationary. You're not supposed to move them, right? Because it's a Kinect, but it's an Xbox Kinect, right? So when you're playing the Xbox Kinect, it sits stationary. If you move it, it doesn't work, right? So you don't move the SLS camera. But this team was moving it, and it was a phone they were using. And then when they were going round, now it'll map in gravestones, it'll map in dampness. Anything that slightly resembles a figure of some sort, it will map it as a stickman, right? So they're like panning it round. The stickman appears right where the damp is, and then moving it back, it vanishes. They move it back right where the damp is. Do that for a while. So all I commented was saying, look, I don't want to bust your bubble, but I think it possibly could be the dampness that it's picking up on. Now, they never questioned this when they were doing this, right? Just was pre-recorded and they posted it up. I said, and also with the SLS camera, it's highly important that you leave it stationary. You don't move it, right? And that was it. Well, see the messages I got, see the threats I got, and all I was doing was just giving my opinion to help at that sort of was. I was just helping. But no, they turned it. Threatening messages, blocked me, put a post up about me, but never said my name, done a live on me, but never said my name. And that was all because I said, look, that's how you use it. You don't use it that way, and it possibly could be the dampness. There was no malice in it. There was nothing. But they flipped it. So you will get that as well.
See, I'll rewind just a wee bit, like, see how you says, like Eileen Taylor says, like, so many groups are doing it for the likes. See, when I was going over the evidence and then I finally heard that moaning, my first thoughts were, I can't wait to see what Rigga thinks about this. I can't wait to see what the other paranormal groups think about this. Never once did I think, this is going to get so many likes. It was always just about, I want to see what everybody else in the paranormal investigative game thinks about this.
Well, that's why I got all excited when I was talking to Scott, and I was like, oh, hopefully he's looked at the, because I kept saying to him, I says, have you seen the footage? Have you seen the footage? And he's like, I'll get to it next day and this and that, and then he got back to me, and I'm like, then I messaged you, and what was I like? I says, did Rigga get back to you about it? And because that's what I'm saying. We were looking forward to sharing all this with you, just like with yourselves and that. Nobody like the actual public, but with other paranormal investigators.
That's normal. That's normal. You know, you want to share it. I mean, we've done it. We've all done it. You know, you get a really good capture. I'm going to send this to A, B, and C, and see what they think about it, and get it. Because you want, you know, we all hear and see. You know, you might have a group of 5 people, and you'll hear a noise, but you might have 3 people in that group that hear something different to the other 2. You know, or one will hear different to the other 4. You do very, very rarely you'll get 5 people together that'll all stand and say, right, we heard the same thing, you know, at the same time. So it is good to say, right, when I've done it, I don't tell people what I've got or what we've got. I'll just send it and say, look, got this, got to have a listen to it, have a look at it, tell me what you think, you know, and see what they can buy. If they can buy and say, well, I heard a little girl, you know, saying your name, so either that's what I heard, you know, then you know that you've got something genuine. So it's good to share it with sort of selected people, but you're people who are friendly and that you know are just going to come back and say, aye, you know what? No, I never heard anything, or aye. I feel you do want to share it. It's a natural thing. But I've just noticed the times Rigga, he's get very delicate, he's aging that, you know, he's getting on a wee bit. I'll keep a hodies after we come off. So where can folk find you, Tommy and Scott?
Facebook.
Aye, Facebook. That's the only platform we've got right now. It was just to make the group, because as I says, we were like, do we do a YouTube channel? Do we do this? And I was like, no, I didn't want like all these views. Aye, it's good if you get them, but the only thing is I want somewhere to document everything, and Facebook for me is the best place. So Facebook's the only place you'll find us.
To give a look up, Forth Valley Paranormal Investigators. So they've only been running a week and a half, so under 2 weeks, 2 weeks. And as you can see, there are a couple of genuine guys who are just out to do it because they love doing it. And they're curious, basically, you know. This chap down here, you know where to find him, don't you?
No, you're pointing the other way. That's right. Aye. That's it.
All right, Rigga. I'm not pointing anywhere.
You'll find me in the house.
In his chair, or in his bed, or in the fridge.
Nah. We're on Facebook. We're kind of same as you, Tommy. We only kind of use Stephen's set up a TikTok, but we kind of prefer just Facebook. I feel if you get too much platforms, that you're trying to kind of keep on top of everything.
I think that's how you're keeping it simple. You're better off, and then that way you can document it on your page. I think it lasts up to a year. Your footage, and then it'll pop up like a week before saying footage is about the end. Do you want to keep it on your page? And you just click yes, and it stays there. So it's easy enough to use. Everybody knows how to use Facebook. So you'll find me on Facebook or in the kebab shop getting a pizza.
Or at a dinner table with a steak pie. Best of all, guys, hope you hook up somewhere sometimes. Thanks for chat. See you. Indeed, you will see us, my dear, on Friday, round about lunchtime, you know. So a big thanks to all my guests tonight. I'm going to give these guys a look up and give Rigga a look up so he doesn't feel left out. We're back on Sunday. PIH is back on Sunday with award. Ireland's going to post a group up on her page tomorrow. We're back on Sunday with award-winning singer and ghost story Ashley Bean. However, we have we've got a special show for you on Thursday, and Rigga's involved in this as well. Our daughter is going to be doing a little live on this page about Barrett Castle. Now, she's 9. We've checked her out, and she's okay to do it. So she wants to come on here with me, and she'll be doing the talking. Rigga's going to be on as a guest as well. And I'm going to be talking about Barrett Castle. It might only be 15, 20 minutes. Who knows? She's 9 and she wants to do it. So we said, well, why not? Let come on and do it. So that's Thursday, 8 o'clock. The weekend will be on. I'll be sitting beside her, but she'll be doing all the yakking where Uncle Rigga doing there. All right, folks. So hopefully I'll put a post on Facebook anyway. And my random question will be on Thursday. And Laura's Spooky Scotland will be on Thursday as well. And that's it for the night, guys. And we shall see you on Thursday. And go and give these guys a check out. All right, folks. Take care. Cheers. Bye. Bye.
Bye.